the mindset that's slowly destroying your life. Have you ever stopped to think about how lately the world seems kind of strange? Like something is out of place, but you can't quite figure out what it is? Maybe you've felt it, like a familiar scent that you can't remember where it's from. It's that weirdness hanging in the air. Relationships that once seemed natural are now full of filters. Behaviors that should be simple become complicated. And the way society is moving. Sometimes it feels almost surreal, but the truth is, we all feel it in some way, don't we? It's like we're living in a world where the familiar is mixed with the unknown, and we're trying to find our place amidst the chaos. And it's okay to feel this strangeness. It's okay to ask, why are things like this? Because that's the first step to understanding what's happening around us. And you know what? You're not alone. Many people out there are feeling the same thing. People who look at what used to be normal and wonder when things change so much. And maybe that's why we feel this disconnection, as if something has changed deeply and we are still adapting to this new world, these new dynamics. So what do we do with this feeling? Is there a way to recover what seems lost? And you know what's even more curious? Sometimes we get used to that feeling of things being out of place. We start living with this discomfort as if it's a part of our daily lives, as if it's normal to feel this way, lost, without direction. But what if I told you that this feeling is just the tip of the iceberg? That this strangeness we feel is actually a symptom of something much bigger? That's right, what we're feeling might be deeper than we think. What if the world, with everything we're witnessing, is sick? Let's think for a moment. When we say the world is sick, we're not just referring to public health crises or the impact of climate change. We're talking about something more silent and at the same time more devastating. A disease that affects the heart of our society, taking root in how we live, relate, and understand ourselves. Take isolation, for example. We live in the age of communication, but we've never been so emotionally disconnected. Interactions are increasingly superficial, full of filters and masks. How many times have you felt completely alone in a room full of people? That feeling isn't just yours. It's the result of a society that has gradually moved away from true human connection, trading depth for immediacy. It seems like we're all too busy to look each other in the eye, to genuinely ask, "How are you?" and stop to listen to the answer. And it doesn't stop there. The social pressure to be productive, efficient, and successful wraps around us like a heavy cloud. We live running after goals, accumulating tasks, as if a person's worth lies in how much they do, not in who they are. This always do more culture is making us sick. Anxiety and stress have become daily companions for many. And the worst part, often this has become normalized. Everything is so fast-paced that pauses are seen as weaknesses. We need to remember that resting is not a luxury, it's a necessity. And there's also a lack of purpose that's corroding our society. In the past, we might have debated the directions of life, but there was a sense of purpose, a feeling that we were moving towards something. Today, it seems that many people are going in circles, trapped in empty routines, seeking meaning in the wrong places. This is also part of the illness, the loss of meaning. How many people go through their days not knowing why they do what they do? The critical point in this situation is that over time, we've gotten used to this state of apathy and exhaustion. As if it's part of modern life to live stressed, always chasing something we can never catch. It's as if we've accepted that this is the price of adult life. And that's dangerous, because when we accept what harms us as normal, we become blind to the opportunities for healing, to the changes we can make. So first of all, we need to realize that this strangeness, this feeling that something is wrong, is a wake-up call. It's a warning that we need to slow down, take a closer look at what we're accepting as normal, and above all, understand that living this way, sick in body and soul, is not our destiny. So what are we going to do about it? Are we going to keep ignoring the signs, or are we going to allow ourselves to question this normal and seek a cure? Because deep down, we know we deserve more than just surviving. Now here's something important to reflect on. What happens when we adapt to a sick environment? When what should bother us becomes tolerated and, worse, accepted as normal? That's where the real danger lies. As time goes by, this adaptation to a sick world makes us lose the sense of what is truly healthy. We begin to think it's normal to live under constant stress, to carry emotional burdens that aren't ours, or to maintain shallow relationships that don't fulfill us. And subtly, what should sound like an alarm becomes just background noise in our routine. We no longer realize how much we're wearing ourselves out. It's like a fish living in polluted waters. At first, maybe it feels the difference, swims uneasily, notices something is wrong. But over time, it adapts. The dirty water becomes its natural environment. It adapts to that reality without realizing it's slowly destroying its vitality. And that's exactly how many of us are living. We've adapted to what makes us sick, to the fast pace, external demands, isolation, without realizing how toxic these patterns really are. And the bigger problem is that when we accept this state of affairs as normal, we start losing the discernment of what really matters. What was once seen as a deviation from health is now accepted as inevitable. Those who don't feel daily stress, who aren't constantly exhausted or emotionally disconnected, are often considered out of touch. And that's the scariest part. We've gotten used to living sick, and worse, we believe that's the only way to live. But shouldn't we stop and question this? This acceptance of illness isn't sustainable, neither for the body nor the mind. By adapting to this sick society, we're slowly losing our essence, our ability to feel, to live fully. And that's when things start to fall apart. When we stop questioning, when we stop fighting for a healthier, more human way of life. We surrender to apathy and conformity. Accepting this state of social illness is dangerous because it leads us to a place of inertia where change seems impossible and discomfort is treated as inevitable. But discomfort is actually a sign that something is out of order. It's telling us we shouldn't adapt to this, that something needs to be done. After all, it's not by living in this toxic routine that we'll find well-being and fulfillment. The good news is that just as adaptation led us to accept illness, we can also re-educate ourselves to seek what is healthy. We can relearn what it means to live in balance, in peace with ourselves and the world around us. But to do that, it takes courage to break this adaptation and reject what harms us. So the question is, are we willing to remember what's truly healthy? It's undeniable that humans have already achieved incredible feats. Think about all the medical and technological advances that have revolutionized how we live. Today, we live longer. We've overcome diseases that were once fatal, and science has given us tools that extend life in ways our ancestors could never have imagined. But here comes an essential question. Are these extra years being well lived? Are we taking advantage of this gift from science with health, energy, and vitality? The advances are impressive. Modern medicine has the power to cure complex diseases, which prolongs the lives of millions of people. Technology connects us to the world in the blink of an eye, giving us access to infinite information and knowledge. There's no doubt that human potential, when focused on progress, can move mountains. But we need to ask ourselves, what's the point of living longer if we're not really living well? Think about it. Longevity alone doesn't mean quality of life. It's not enough to just add years to life. We need to add life to the years. Having more time in this world is a gift, but what's the value of that time if we're constantly exhausted, disconnected, or stuck in routines that don't bring us joy or purpose? If we take a closer look, we'll see that while science has extended our lives, it often hasn't ensured that this extra time is lived with full physical, mental, and emotional health. For example, it's common to hear about the increase in life expectancy, but we also see a parallel rise in rates of diseases like depression, anxiety, and chronic illnesses linked to lifestyle, such as diabetes and hypertension. So the question remains, are we really living or just surviving longer? Science has given us time. Now it's up to us as a society to ensure that this time is filled with experiences that are worth it. It doesn't make sense to live longer if in that extra time we're just accumulating exhaustion, fatigue, and frustration. The real advancement isn't just in living longer, but in living better, with vitality, health, and above all, purpose. Imagine what we could achieve if we aligned human potential with complete well-being. If every extra year wasn't just a number, but a year of quality, where we could feel joy in being alive, have the energy to pursue our dreams, and truly connect with each other. That's the real challenge ahead of us. It's not just about prolonging life, but making it more meaningful. So, what are we doing with this extra time that science has given us? Are we living the way we should? Are we taking care of our mental and emotional health as much as we take care of our physical health? These are fundamental questions we need to ask ourselves if we really want to make the most of what humanity has to offer. Because living longer isn't enough. We need to truly live. Now let's talk about something that affects most of us daily: the modern lifestyle. Look around. How many people do you know who are constantly tired, exhausted, stuck in a routine that seems to drain all their energy, waking up already feeling worn out, living with an invisible pressure on their shoulders, relying on medication to control high blood pressure, fight anxiety, or just be able to sleep? This has become so common that we often don't even question it. The problem is that this fast-paced, stress-filled lifestyle has been so normalized that we no longer see it as something wrong. The chronic fatigue many of us feel, the poor diet, the reliance on medication to cope with the side effects of this rush, these are all symptoms of a lifestyle that's making us sick, but which somehow has been accepted as the price to pay for modernity. Let's be honest, how many times have you heard someone say, "Oh, it's normal to be tired, it's part of it," or that it's impossible to live without stress? This kind of thinking reflects a dangerous mindset that accepts what harms us as inevitable. Sedentary behavior, poor diets full of ultra-processed foods, the excess of sugar, and the lack of time to take care of one's health are seen as part of modern life. But should it be that way? Obesity, for example, isn't just an aesthetic problem. It's a reflection of something much deeper, a sign that our lifestyle is out of control. The lack of time to cook healthy meals, the need to rely on fast food, and the comfort we find in ultra-processed and industrialized foods show that we're not prioritizing our health. And here lies the danger, because just as the world around us is sick, our bodies end up suffering the direct consequences of this way of living. The dependence on medication is also a clear sign that something is wrong. More and more people are turning to pills to deal with the symptoms of a toxic lifestyle. High blood pressure, insomnia, anxiety. All these problems are treated with medications that often address the symptoms but don't solve the causes. We're living in a cycle where the cure seems always just a pill away, but what's really harming us remains untouched. And the worst part, we're getting used to it. What should be an exception has become the rule. It's as if we've accepted that living this way, always exhausted, without energy, constantly medicated, is the normal. But it's not. Chronic fatigue, reliance on medication, and poor diets shouldn't be inevitable parts of adult life. They're signs that we're out of balance, that our modern lifestyle is pushing us away from health, not toward it. So how can we accept this as normal? Shouldn't we question this life that wears us out, that pushes us into a constant state of alert, but never really lets us find peace? The truth is, The modern lifestyle that prides itself on being efficient and productive is actually making us sick. And once again, it's up to us to stop, reflect, and ask ourselves, is this how we want to live? Because in the end, it's not just about living longer. If we live this way, chronically tired and unhealthy, what do we gain from it? And it's not just the body that suffers, is it? The impact of this unhealthy lifestyle goes far beyond physical health. Our hearts and minds are also being deeply affected. Think about it. How many people do you know who live with anxiety, constant discouragement, or difficulty concentrating? These emotional issues, once seen as exceptions, are now so common that they're often treated as part of life. But is this really normal? The truth is, we're living in a state of widespread emotional imbalance. Anxiety has become an invisible companion for many, always present, always reminding us of daily worries and pressures. That constant feeling that we're late, that we're not doing enough, that there's always more to be done. It wears us down from the inside out. And discouragement, it sneaks up, stealing our energy and our ability to find joy in the small things of daily life. And the most alarming thing, we're starting to treat these symptoms as if they're inevitable, as if it's normal to wake up every day with a sense of emotional exhaustion, unable to concentrate or feel motivated to accomplish even the simplest tasks. How many times have you heard someone say, "That's just how it is," or that everyone is anxious these days? These phrases, though so common, are signs that something is deeply wrong. The difficulty in concentrating is another symptom that many of us face. In a world full of distractions and information overload, the ability to stay focused is becoming rarer. And when we lose this ability, stress increases even more. We jump from task to task, but never feel truly productive or fulfilled. It's as if we're always in fight or flight mode, which drains our emotional system and prevents us from finding peace. And this lack of emotional energy isn't just physical tiredness. It's a feeling of being emotionally drained, as if there's nothing left to offer, neither to others nor to ourselves. Life becomes a series of tasks to be completed, but without the pleasure or satisfaction that should accompany our achievements. It's a vicious cycle. The more discouraged and drained we are, the harder it is to get out of this state, and the deeper we sink into it. The problem is that by accepting these emotional states as normal, we're ignoring the signs that something needs to change. This emotional imbalance, this constant anxiety, isn't a natural characteristic of human life. They're symptoms of a world that demands too much from us and gives little in return. It's as if we're constantly chasing an unattainable ideal without ever stopping to take care of ourselves and our emotional health. So, where does that leave us? We need to start recognizing that living this way, always anxious, always emotionally drained, isn't normal. It's not inevitable. It's a reflection of a system that needs to be questioned and adjusted. We urgently need a new balance, a new focus on emotional well-being that values rest, genuine connection, and inner peace. Because in the end, true health goes beyond the physical. It involves the mind, the heart, and the soul. And if we're emotionally sick, it doesn't matter how long we live or how much we achieve, we'll never feel truly well. The challenge now is more than ever to reconnect with this inner well-being, to question what we're accepting as normal, and to allow ourselves to seek a more balanced and fulfilling life, both inside and out. Now, there's something we need to face head-on: the alarming rise in serious illnesses like heart attacks, which are increasingly affecting younger generations. In the past, heart attacks were seen as a problem that came with age, a risk associated with getting older. But today, we're seeing people in their 30s and 40s suffering from severe heart attacks. And this should deeply alarm us. But what are we doing? Somehow, we're beginning to accept this as part of the normal of modern life. Stress, poor diet, lack of exercise and sleepless nights silently accumulate, and the result is a body that can no longer keep up with the pace. And when a young person has a heart attack, the shock is momentary. But soon we return to the routine without questioning the real cause behind it. What's driving us to this early exhaustion? And more than that, we're buying into the idea that aging necessarily means losing vitality, mental clarity, and energy, as if it's natural that with age, our bodies slowly shut down and our minds start to fail. But who said it has to be that way? Society has pushed this view of aging as an inevitable physical and mental decline, but that's not the full truth. Aging doesn't have to mean losing health or energy. In fact, with the knowledge and tools we have today, we should be aging with more vitality than ever. The problem is that by accepting this narrative that aging equals weakness, we start to live as if there's no other option. We settle for the idea that by the time we reach 50 or 60, we're destined for a life of limitations, fatigue, and chronic illnesses. And this kind of thinking is dangerous because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. But it doesn't have to be that way. We can and should question this passive acceptance of early aging. Of course, time brings natural changes to our bodies, but there's a difference between aging with health and simply giving in to a lack of vitality. And that's the point. The way we live now is shaping our future. The choices we make, the lifestyle we adopt, all of this determines the quality of our years ahead. The rise in heart attacks among young people and the premature aging we see today are clear signs that something is out of balance. We're neglecting our health in the name of a routine that slowly destroys us, and in the end, we pay the price. But we don't have to accept this fate. We can take control of our health, of our future. We can seek more vitality, more energy, and more mental clarity, regardless of age. The real challenge is to redefine what it means to age. Aging shouldn't be seen as a sentence of loss, but as a process that, if well taken care of, can be full of health, wisdom, and energy. We need to stop accepting aging as an inevitable decline and start seeing it as a phase of fullness, where we take care of our body, our mind, and our spirit. So ask yourself, how do you want to age? As someone who has accepted exhaustion and limitations, or as someone who, even with the years passing, still lives with vitality and clarity? Now, here's something fundamental we need to understand. There's a huge difference between what is common and what is normal. And this confusion between these two concepts is one of the biggest problems we face in today's society. Look, we live in a world where it's common to see people constantly stressed, exhausted, with no time for themselves. It's common to find people who deal daily with health problems like hypertension, diabetes, anxiety, and depression. It's common to observe people living disconnected, both from themselves and from others, stuck in routines that drain their energy and vitality. But just because something is common doesn't make it normal. That's where the problem lies. We've started accepting what's common as if it's the natural course of things. We've come to believe that living with chronic stress is something inevitable, that depending on medication to sleep, to concentrate, or to control blood pressure is part of modern life. We accept that having emotional health problems, feeling constantly anxious or discouraged, is just a consequence of how things are nowadays. But this acceptance is dangerous. Just because something is frequent, because many people face the same challenges, doesn't mean it's normal or healthy. Aging doesn't automatically mean losing energy and vitality. Having a stress-filled routine shouldn't be the norm. Being emotionally drained or physically ill shouldn't be accepted as part of life. Of course, over time, society has made us believe that this fast-paced lifestyle, which slowly makes us sick, is the price of progress. But that's not true. True normalcy is living with balance, with health, with time for yourself and for others, with mental clarity, and with the ability to handle life's challenges without being completely consumed by them. The problem is that by confusing the common with the normal, we end up adapting to conditions that, in other circumstances, we would never accept. We accept a draining state of life because that's how everyone lives, without questioning whether it really makes sense. And by doing this, we fail to see that it's possible to live differently in a healthier and fuller way. If you stop to think, you'll see that many of the things we now consider normal are actually symptoms of a sick world. The way we treat our bodies, how we handle our emotions, how we relate to time, all of this reflects a system that is out of balance. Chronic stress, lack of energy, mental and physical health problems aren't inevitable characteristics of modern life. They're responses to a lifestyle that for too long has neglected what really matters. And that's where our responsibility to question comes in. We need to stop and reflect on what we're accepting as normal. We need to understand that living with both physical and emotional health isn't a luxury, it's a right. And just because many people around us are living out of balance doesn't mean we have to follow the same path. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, that's just how it is, stop and ask yourself, is this common or is it really normal? Now that we've come this far, the question that remains is, how can we change all of this? How can we reverse the damage caused by this lifestyle? The good news is that the solution is within our reach. It's not necessary to make radical changes or follow magic formulas, but rather small decisions that over time have a profound impact. Here's how we can start. 1. Intentional pause. Practice. Take a few minutes each day for a conscious pause. Take a deep breath. Observe your thoughts and emotions without judgment. This practice may seem simple, but it helps reduce stress and bring mental clarity, something deeply valued by the Stoics. 2. Reflect on control. Take a moment at the end of the day to reflect on the situations you faced. Ask yourself, what was under my control today? From there, focus on how you can act better tomorrow within your possibilities. Letting go of what you cannot change. This is a daily practice important in Stoicism. 3. Value what you already have. Cultivating gratitude is a powerful way to balance modern life. Instead of focusing on what's missing, remember the good things already present in your life. This helps cultivate a calmer mind and reduce the constant feeling of dissatisfaction. 4. Take care of your body and mind. In addition to meditation and reflection, a balanced diet and regular movement like daily walks are essential. These simple habits restore the balance between body and mind, preparing you to better handle everyday challenges. Sustainable change. None of these changes require immediate large-scale revolutions. The secret lies in consistency. Small daily actions create a positive cycle that increases your energy, mental clarity, and purpose. Now that we've explored the causes and effects of this lifestyle that makes us sick, it's clear that change is not just possible, it's necessary. Each of us has the power to question what has been imposed on us as normal, and to seek a life with more balance, health, and purpose. Remember, small daily actions are enough to start. Whether through the practice of conscious pauses, reflection on what's under our control, or caring for the body and mind, we can build a routine that brings us more vitality and inner peace. True transformation begins when we stop settling for fatigue, stress, and emotional disconnection. And by doing this, we not only improve our own lives, but also inspire those around us to do the same. If you identify with this message, don't hesitate to share this video with someone who can also benefit from these reflections. Leave a like if you found the content useful. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click the subscribe button to keep up with content that will help you live more fully and balanced. Together, we can break the cycle of exhaustion and build a life that's truly worth living. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video.